Mayong Adla, ¿Cómo está? This is Ben from Philippines Xtremes, coming to you outside of Baobao, Cordova, and Cebu. Um, just first of all, I want to say that I've been dealing with a terrible bout of food poisoning, so that's kind of why I haven't been posting last week. It's just been terrible, and again, my internet's been giving me absolutely huge grief. So I just, between those two things, I just haven't been very active, even, you know, in my day to day. But so this video is basically going to be about my testimony and what led me to where I'm at today. So I think that in it, there could be a message for somebody out there who is teetering on the fence and needs that seed planted so that they can grow further in their life. So that's my hope with this video. So I grew up under kind of a mishmash of Christianity, kind of waving in and out of our lives. My father was an alcoholic, and my mother was kind of abused by him. But she had, the faith, but mostly it was just watching, religious channels and things. And so it was a very, very mixed message. When I was about 18 years old or 17, I started going to church, and I found, camaraderie with the youth there, and I just kind of enjoyed it. And eventually I accepted Christ in my life. I ended up going to Bible college for about not a whole year. I was no good at school before that. Sorry, mosquito. I dropped out of school and ended up getting my GED just because I just wasn't good at school. So, of course, when I went to Bible college, I also was not good there, and it was expensive. So I ended up stopping that process too. But after I stopped that, I was into music, and I sung a lot in church, and I had a real passion for it. So I tried to explore that, outside of church. And there was a time before I started falling away where I was going down and I was ministering to the street youth. And in that process, I kind of got lured by their lifestyle. A lot of them were struggling musicians, and a lot of them were, very artistic and cerebral, and those parts kind of resonated with me, and attracted me to it. So eventually, I got more involved in that type of lifestyle as opposed to Christianity, which led me down a path for many, many years. It was a slow progression. I had my foundation in Christianity, but then I would meet, some girl who I liked, and we would have our debates, and she would, say things in an intellectual way that made sense to me. So I pretty much abandoned eventually. I'd say by my mid 20s, I wasn't living at all with any type of Christian beliefs. I found like more Buddhist type philosophies were more appealing. I was exploring, different things like psychedelics, and that was expanding my mind into other avenues, and I was really into like Led Zeppelin and the Hendrix and the '60s era and the Beatles and all those things where that was part of the culture. So I, also did those things to try to emulate, what they were doing. But eventually, I had a kid, and I had to settle down. Fortunately, I didn't have any kind of taste for alcohol, so that's never been a factor in my life. But I dropped the psychedelics, but I still smoked. I like the green, and did that for the majority of my adult life. So the woman I was with that I had a kid, she and I were together until he turned 18, and then we separated. And throughout that time, I had like, I kind of got ahead of myself. Like, I never really had big trouble with the law, but when I would drink, I would do stupid things. And so that's kind of why I quit drinking, was because I would just get crazy and I would want to go drive around and do ridiculous things. And so alcohol just wasn't a good match for me. But fortunately, I had enough wherewithal to realize that, I didn't want to be like my dad and I was having a kid. So that's why I quit drinking alcohol. So back to when, I broke up with my um, son's mom. Um, I was always like trying to do my own thing as financially. I had small businesses that ended up tanking. I filed for bankruptcy in my 30s, just never really finding any true success, but always staying the course. But I didn't like working for people, so I always wanted to try things. I bought my own taxi and tried to run that route. I started a coin business, was online, and then I took it, to a brick and mortar, and I ran that for a while until the recession happened, and just all kinds of things. But I never really found any huge financial success. I was never like on welfare or anything like that, and always, surviving, but never found any huge successes. So then I ended up coming to the Philippines, which I've told you guys all about that relationship. Um, it She, presented herself as a godly person, and I kind of didn't like that actually because at the time I wasn't in that frame of mind at all. And then once I met her, it was just kind of a persona that she was projecting. But it was funny because just the influence of her, beforehand and in the beginning kind of planted seeds in me, and reminded me of things. So throughout that relationship, I was coming around. I was really starting to come around. And the tumultuousness of the relationship where it was just constant yelling and arguing and um, aggression and all these things were just really overwhelming me, and it began to be like isolated. I didn't really have like many friends. We had moved to this small town, and there weren't many jobs, and she had a job at the major place there in town. And I'm telling you, this was a super small town. So she kind of integrated with all the bigger names in the town. She befriended the mayors and the sheriffs and all the people that sit on the like boards of such and such. And me, I was just just some guy. And so she kind of wove herself into that community, and I didn't. Um, Once she, you know, did her major things to break up with me, I was already back into Christianity and trying to get her to come around, but she um, didn't believe that I was true, and she was so far removed from it herself that she was just mocking it and resisting. And we eventually, she kicked me out of the house, and my whole life fell apart, and I had to like totally rebuild. But throughout that process, in the divorce, she um, slandered my name, accused me of things that were untrue, had her friends in court say, all these things that I supposedly did, which I didn't do. Like I said, she was friends with everybody in town and just dragged my name through the muds. And she even knew the judge. That's how small of a town it was. So I was at the mercy of it, and eventually I won the first case, but then I lost the second case, And essentially, she had the power over me. She had some order against me that, I couldn't come like within 10 feet of her. And it was such a small town that my property was like 100 feet from her work. So it was, to me, it was just a tactic, to get me out of town. And I knew anything that I did would essentially make me end up in jail. And I'm not a criminal, so I didn't want to deal with any of that and get, like a huge criminal record or something. So I left, but I still own that property. I just don't have any desire to ever go back to it. But throughout all those trials and tribulations, one thing that saved me and kept me, I mean, I was all alone. Nobody wanted to be my friend. Nobody talked good about me. Nobody even said hi to me on the street. But I leaned hard on my faith, and um, and it was God that brought me out of those things. And I was praying every day, Lord, whatever your will is for me, whether it's, because I didn't want to be alone. And I felt like I was alone in that relationship for years. And so, I was really seeking somebody um, that I could have companionship with and not have it be so tumultuous. And throughout that process, when it was all going down throughout court and everything, God brought me my wife, Lily, and she really kept me grounded in my faith. And I had been praying, Lord, if it's your will and you want me to be with someone, I'm open to it. So, send me somebody that you think I can be a benefit to, and that um, she can be a benefit to me as well. And just everything fell into place after the court battles and everything. I ended up leaving town, but staying in close contact with Lily, waiting for the pandemic to be over with so that we could meet my wife from the previous. We had been, apart for a long time, not a long time, but, um, throughout this time that Lily and I were talking, she and I, the wife, had already been separated. So God just kind of brought her to me and helped me, have somebody to discuss all these things with, and for support and prayer. All we did was pray and read the Bible and talk, and it was extremely beneficial. It carried me through this. The only thing that carried me through was God and God's influence in my life. And I tell you, before then, um, throughout my whole life, I had been resisting God. I had kind of the beliefs in it, um, but I was ignoring them, and eventually, once I was broken down so severely that I had nowhere else to turn, I turned to God. Sometimes God will he'll break you down just so you can be picked back up in the right ways. A lot of times, they say rock bottom. That's a definite thing. You hit rock bottom, and that's your turning point. So I had hit rock bottom big time, and I knew, my family, my elders, like my grandparents and my great aunts and everything, they were always devout Christians, and they were always praying for me, and they were always, you know, trying to let me know that, God was there for me. And when I was alone, I just kept thinking about them, and all that influence and all my past experiences just led me right back to God. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that, they walk around in their daily life, and they have, some beliefs and things, but everything in their life is not in line with the philosophy. But I just want to encourage everybody, if you choose to leave all of that behind and put your faith in God, everything can change. And once I put my faith in God and believed wholeheartedly and applied my daily walk to Him and spreading His message, everything changed. It was like night and day, and it happened so fast. Um, I was blessed with, this amazing property, um, Lily, finances. And I'm not saying get to God so that, you can have these rewards. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that was the result. And so, we went through the pandemic experience, and finally I was able to come and meet Lily, and everything was confirmed, and God has been in our lives, and everything has been beautiful and wonderful. And the people that we come in contact with, we've been sharing our blessings with. And it's just been an amazing, amazing journey ever since I came back to Christ. So this is mostly for the person out there that is leaning on the fence, that may be feeling alone, maybe going through struggles. Maybe you had some beliefs in Christ at one time in your life, but you've been resisting. Change that. Come back to God. You have to remember that no matter how far, no matter how far you've gone, you can always just turn right and come back. It's just a right turn. And I'm using right as a metaphor, You can always get right if you turn back. And it's really just as simple as that. Embrace the Lord, and the Lord will embrace you. Now, one thing that happened to me when I did start embracing the Lord is attacks just started coming at me. They started coming from all directions. Cases filed against me. I knocked one case down, and then 2 weeks later, I got another case filed against me from my ex. And it just, kept happening until she finally got a sympathetic judge, and it just stuck. And all of these things were just attacks to get me to falter and abandon my faith and get angry and all these things. But I tell you what, I'm not angry about the things that were done to me. Um, I'm not angry about the people that were against me. I pray for them, and I can't have hate in my heart. That's just not godly, and it's something that we're taught not to do. And if you apply these things in your life, everything will change. Doors will open up, different things will come to you, and your perspective will be changed, and everything will be different. So that's my hope to you out there, the listener that may have made it through to the end of this. Seek God, depend on Him, and change your walk, because uh, everything in your life will become better for the good. And you start um, experiencing things that, are much better than the things that you experienced when you were walking on the fence or you had your back turned. So turn around, embrace Him, and change your life for the better. So that's my prayer to you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Um, I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you do. Wish me, the best. I'm getting better. This has been brutal. I'm on antibiotics, and it's absolutely terrible and low energy. But I just wanted to come on here and encourage people, because even through times of struggle, that's when you're tested, and you stay through all those tests and trials, and you become stronger. So everybody out there, take my word for it or don't. Try it for yourself and see what God has in store for you. So God bless you, and have a great day.